Oh yeah.
I've been ready for 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago.
All right. I've been ready for 2 minutes and 47 seconds. All right. Let's
I was ready for 2
go.
minutes and 47 seconds ago. So
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Can I do the intro?
Fuck it. Go ahead.
This is the longest intro in the world. Welcome back to Going Topicless, the podcast that so few people listen to that we rant and rave about God knows what, yet we continue to do it week by week. Well, depending on which week you listen to. But fuck it. Thanks for coming by. We're gonna talk about some shit today. Devin said that he's got some shit to talk about, so
Oh
I'm gonna
my
be
god.
also known as my government name Cameron. This is Devin, CJ Dipper.
Hello.
He's got some. He's pissed off about people being too plugged in. So I
Am
think
I
we
ever?
should just give him the floor because
Okay.
I'm very
So,
fucking curious of what he wants to complain about today.
this will be a
I could
hot topic of the week.
if Devin does put it post production, if he does put in the little like 3 minute blurb that I guess he was recording, and I hope I didn't say anything offensive, but but if he does put that into like the actual final cut, I just cut him off. He wanted he started bitching and moaning already, and I was like, no, just save it. Like I don't even want to hear it. Let's just put it right on cast. Like
This happens
you know.
every time we go to start a podcast. As we're like, okay, is everyone ready? And then we start talking about something like, hang on, I haven't hit record yet. God damn it. So now I've just gotten into the habit of just hitting record as soon as everyone's in the podcast party. So
Oh, I mean, that's fine. Fuck it. Is Jesse on? No, I'm just kidding.
we'll have him back. Definitely have him back. I like him.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
Jesse was cool. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how his project come along. Anyway, we're getting distracted already.
That's
We're
what
in
we
for a
do.
long night.
But dude, that's what we're here for. We're topics. We have no topics.
There's no
we're
plan.
here.
There's no
We're here to talk
structure. There's no
bullshit
rules.
for 2 hours, and we're just fucking leaving it at that. So, what are you pissed off about?
Okay,
What's wrong?
so this morning I was walking down to the bank to get out some money because I was going to buy a car, which I've done. We'll get to that. But I've noticed nearly, probably like, I'd say at least half the people that I pass on the street have earbuds in or AirPods, or they're on their phone texting somebody, or they're not fully there, and I don't consider myself a fully social person, but I do like to say hi, how are you to people passing on the street. Have a good
No,
day,
that's
how's
fine.
it going? But you can't do that when everyone's listening to whatever fucking K-pop song is popular now.
How many? Wait, okay.
When
2 questions, real quick. I'm gonna cut you
okay,
off.
okay,
I'm gonna start with the obvious one. How many people in Canada are listening to fucking K-pop?
I don't know. I don't care.
Two,
I don't listen to it.
how many people do you realistically say hello to? A verbal hello, not just a head nod. A verbal hello.
Um, well, not many because they're all plugged into their fucking phones.
No, no, no.
But
If
like,
you saw somebody walking towards you, no headphones, no phone, they're just walking, and they look right at you, you're gonna say,
if we
"Hey, how you
make
doing?"
if we make actual eye contact and we acknowledge each other's existence, then I usually say something along the lines of hello or good day, something like that. And it's like, nice day, isn't it?
That's fucking
Just
insane,
simple.
dude. You get a head nod from me. I'm like, uh-huh.
I
Like if we make eye contact, we acknowledge each other. I'm like, I give him that awkward smile, like you just pass somebody in the office, and then like that person, like that coworker of yours that you don't really
hmm
know all that well, but like you know who they are. Like, yeah, good to see you. Yeah. But like you don't say anything. Oh, that's such a Canada thing.
think it is.
You think we're acting like that in America? No,
Are
we
you?
ain't got time to say hi to everybody. The fuck? Dude, we barely have time to eat an actual meal. Why do you think fast food's so fucking relevant down here?
Good point. Although fast
Anyways,
food's pretty relevant up here too.
continue. Continue, please. Yeah,
That's
like
that's
Tim.
pretty much just what I
Yeah,
wanted
wait,
to
is
bitch
Tim
about. It's just
Hortons
people
awesome?
are, well, yeah, Tim's good old Timmy hose.
So do you guys have Starbucks too?
We do.
So which one's better?
Uh, I mean, any real Canadian will say Tim Hortons. You know what I'm saying?
But like any normal human being's gonna say Starbucks.
All right, you know what?
Okay, no, I'm sorry. So everybody's plugged into their AirPods, and
Yes, or they're
you just
on
totally
their
appreciate it.
phones fucking texting. I mean, I've it's such an epidemic. I mean, every podcast has talked about
Epidemic.
this already 5 times over,
What a
but
word for what's going. What's a,
but
what's
it
an
is
epidemic?
though. We
You're acting like it's the new plague.
it is. It so is. Dude, we are naturally social creatures. We need that human contact. We need to talk to people, not just online through fucking texts on Facebook or Twitter, but actual face-to-face interactions with people. That's how we thrive as a species. That's how our ancestors survived. That's how that's how
Now,
we do it.
our ancestors survived by fucking each other.
Well, I mean, we still survive by doing that.
We didn't. They didn't necessarily have to talk to one another. They just needed to push parts together, and then new spawns occurred. Yo, speaking of this shit, no. All right, this ties into. So I've been watching this series on Netflix. Um, I can name drop Netflix, right? Yeah, that's fine. So I've been, I've been watching this. It's not new by any means. I think it came out last year in 2018, and National Geographic put it out originally, but it's on Netflix, and it's called One Strange Rock. It's narrated by Will Smith,
Ooh.
the Fresh Prince himself, and it's literally this like show that just like talks about like life and like the earth and how like we're basically all just like destined to die anyways. So like how the fuck are we here? Why the fuck are we here? And like guess what? You're gonna die kind of shit. Uh, yo, but I've been watching this shit like uh before I go to bed. Like I'll turn it on like while I'm trying to get all snuggy in my bed and like fall asleep because it's like it's kind of not that it's not entertaining, it's just not engaging, I guess. I mean,
Mm.
it's a National Geographic show. And
Geographic.
geographic, that's a tough word when you have drink as much as I have tonight. So, disclaimer to anyone listening, I'm a little drunk. That's why we're recording.
Drunk
Uh,
Gandhi's best Gandhi. We're in for a
but
wild ride, ladies
but
and
this
gentlemen.
show, dude, I'm telling you, this show like it makes me fucking nauseous because the emphasis that they put on the audience watching the show of just how insignificant we are as a human species is fucking nauseating.
But
I
we
mean, it
are,
just
though.
oh,
We are
absolutely.
so
Dude.
unfathomably
Oh
small
my god,
compared to
dude.
how
They're showing like
unfathomably large the universe
pictures.
is.
Oh my god, they're showing all these pictures of like the different galaxies and like just literally everything in space and like all this other just billions and billions and billions. It sound like Donald Trump, just billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of fucking stars and planets and all this shit everywhere. And it is fucking mind boggling of just this vast thing. Like, we are nothing at all.
We are a
And
speck
it,
of dust on a speck of dust on a speck of
oh
dust.
my god. If you have Netflix, just watch like the first like 2 or 3 episodes of this fucking show because it will just remind you of just realistically how unimportant your life is to like the rest of the fucking world
Mm-hmm.
because like if you ever thought like oh like whatever I'm here, it's cool, fine, well you're gonna watch the show and you're like fuck it, why am I here? Like, I could not be here and nobody would fucking know the difference. Like,
Really? Have you
there'd just
heard
be
of
there'd be like 7 people that would miss me. I don't know what we're doing here. This is not a eulogy, by the way. I just want a disclaimer, okay? Like I'm gonna be back for another episode, okay? Just want to throw that out there. But like the show has been, I mean, it has not been good for me to fall asleep to. I've really found myself like watching the show,
you
but then
watch
I'm
one
genuinely
episode
like,
and suddenly you're up all night wondering why you
oh yeah,
exist?
dude. but not just that. Like I'm starting to dream about this kind of shit of like just like being in space or like going to a new planet and like encountering new life and shit. And I'm just like, all right, I gotta stop this shit. But then I keep going back for another episode right before bed because I don't watch it outside of outside of my bed because I'm not really a huge TV person. Like I watch a lot of streams like on Twitch and whatnot, and my fiance is normally pretty cool with me like turning a stream on Twitch or something while I'm in bed because she falls asleep in like 2 fucking seconds. She's one of those people. I'm not. Um, and but I started watching the show because I like Will Smith. I think he's
Hmm.
funny. I thought maybe he'd bring some life to the to a Nat Geo show. But fuck, dude, it has just and I know like I took classes in college and even through primary school and stuff you learn that like we are just nothing compared to the vast you know overwhelming majority of the actual universe type thing. But Jesus, man, with the show, it's like it's primarily narrated by Will Smith, which he's an actor or whatever. But then they have like 10 astronauts on there, like that have a combined like 1,000 days of in space between all of them, and they talk about their experiences up there and how and they're all obviously you're an astronaut, so you're either a fucking scientist or like a aeronautical engineer. Like you're a smart motherfucker if you've been to space. So like they're talking about like how being in space made them actually realize that like we are very insignificant to the rest of just everything. Oh man, I've just been a fucking roller coaster of everything, and I mean, it's everywhere. So that's my 2 cents. Podcast is over. I'm gonna go cry in a fucking ball for the rest of the night.
Have you ever heard of optimistic nihilism?
No, but I would like to learn what that is. So I hope you have
So
more info.
this is related to our insignificance in the world, in the universe. So this is kind of the outlook I have on life, that nothing matters. We have no purpose, no meaning, no reason to being at all. And when
See, I
we
don't agree
die
with
and
that.
hang on, let me get through this. Holy shit.
I'm not. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And whatever shitty thing happens in the day, uh, the world's just gonna keep on spinning. The universe is gonna keep on doing its thing, and by the end of the day, no one's gonna care. So I use that as a way to think, hey, some shitty happened today, but in the end, it doesn't matter. So I can just keep living my life, enjoy the moments that are lovely, forget the moments that are terrible, and yeah, just keep on keeping on, you know? Because in the end, what does it matter? That's sort of optimistic nihilism in a nutshell. There's probably a more complicated explanation on Google,
I feel you.
but
No, I
yeah.
feel you. No, okay, so I hear you. However, I don't love it. Don't hate it. Don't hate it at all. Don't hate it. But I don't love it. And I only say that because and I'll tell you, you explained your viewpoint, your opinion on the whole thing. And I'm gonna preface this all with I'm not a religious person. Didn't wasn't raised under a religious microscope. My you know my upbringing was just kind of like a hey, figure that shit out yourself. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Whatever, yada yada,
Fair
whatever.
enough.
However, I will say I don't like the term that oh, when you're gone, nobody cares.
Well, I guess yeah,
I like to.
I was a bit off
I
with that because
No,
people
no, no,
there are people who
and that's
care.
fine. I just wanted to kind of bring to light of like because as I agree with our overall existence of how insignificant we are, like as a species, I'd like to counter that with that we are significant as an individual to some extent. If we go before others that knew us, that cared about us, that loved us, then yes, we are significant in their minds. However,
True.
when those people pass, which they eventually will, our memory will cease to exist. I could not tell you a fucking soul, a fucking name past my own grandmother. Not great grandmother, not great great grandmother. No, 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 my grandmother. Not that I couldn't learn what my great grandmother's name was, not that I couldn't learn what my great great grandmother's name was. I just do not know that information off the top of my fucking head. Because as time goes on, people come, people go.
Hmm.
That's fucking life. Now, I did not know who my great great grandmother was. I think I met my great grandmother one time, and she was in a hospital bed. Like, and I was a child. Now, not that I wouldn't say, oh, oh yeah, yeah, I love them, but I have no emotional attachment there.
Because
I
you've
will
never
say,
really you've never really known them as a
no, I
person, so
didn't know them. I don't know who they were. I didn't know what they were about, what they looked like, really. I couldn't tell you what my great grandmother looked like. I couldn't even tell you your name. Not a fucking chance. I'd have to ask my mom about that. And I'd have to ask my mother about that because that was her grandmother. And so on and so forth. Just how family lineage goes.
yeah.
However, but I don't know that information because as time goes on, people are forgotten. And it's the only people that I remembered are the ones that make significant impacts on the world as a whole.
I was just
So
about to
the
say
names
there are,
that
there are
like
ways you can almost concrete yourself in the
oh,
history of the
absolutely.
world.
No, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of names that are cemented into humanity. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, even as a recent example, because he
Hmm.
just passed, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm not really sure.
Stanley, he's a legend and a
Yeah,
half.
Stanley, Marvel. The list goes on. However, common folk, you know, if as a family unit you do not remind your offspring and your future generations of who these people are, people fade away. If that individual decides to be, buried and have a headstone, then their headstone is the last, memory of that person come to a certain point. Um, and that's why I agree with the fact that, like, yes, we are insignificant for the masses. However, for at least one or two, maybe three generations, if you're lucky enough, that, like, yeah, you will be remembered. But like after that, 50 years goes by, 20, 30 years goes by, nobody knows who the fuck you are. We are here for our time, and when that time's up, you know, I don't know what happens. I, I'll be honest with you. What I think happens is it's just nothing. It's like, it's like before we were born, before we were a life on this earth, and then like when we die, we just
Cease to
like.
be.
I mean, I took this um I took this class when I was in college. It was an anthropology of death class. That was the name of it. And the entire class was just based around it was an anthropology class, so it was like focused around like various cultures and how all these different cultures interacted and perceived death and the afterlife and what all these different groups of people did, when their loved ones died or what their beliefs were upon death. And all that class really taught me was just like, yeah, well, I'm probably cool if it's just kind of like, meh, see ya. Like, like we're done here. Thanks. Thanks for playing the game. Game over, you know, like because I mean some of this
Congratulations, you won a hospital bed
I just
or
think
a
it's
casket or
crazy
something.
that no, dude, burn my shit, dude. Fucking cremate the fuck out of me. I've told my fiance. I'm like, "Listen. Oh wait, have we podcasted since I got engaged?
When did you get engaged?
Like 3 fucking weeks ago?
I think we podcasted, but you didn't talk about it.
Have we? Well, yeah, I got engaged.
Congratulations.
I'm getting married. It's fucking crazy. I really don't think we have.
No,
I don't think
you've definitely never mentioned this.
I don't think we've podcasted since then, dude. Has it been this long since we podcasted?
Oh
When
my
did we have
God.
Jesse on? When did
Um,
Jesse was our last episode,
yeah. Hang on, I can look
dude.
in the text
That
chat.
was totally like 3 fucking weeks ago, 4 weeks
That was on the
ago.
8th. That was on the 8th of this month.
That was
So
three
yeah.
weeks ago. Fuck, dude. We suck. I suck. I feel like I'm always the one that's like, oh, I'm so busy.
Well, no,
Um,
I kind of got fucked by my random schedule
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So
The schedules kind of killed you too. But yeah, got engaged. So fiance. Anyways,
when's the wedding?
um, we're actually gonna get married on Halloween in 2020.
Ooh, spooky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all spooky and shit. I'm trying to make that trip from fucking Vancouver.
If I can get off my lazy ass and get a passport.
I know that's my same shit. I'm like, can't make it to Vancouver. I don't have a passport. Yo, dude, the US is about to fucking switch some shit up. I have to get like a special license like before January of 2020, or else I can't even get on an airplane.
Not even like a local airplane from like one state to another, or even just within your state.
Mm-mm. No,
Why?
I have to get because it's like a vetting process. It's like a part of like Trump's like, you know, security like plan.
Hmm.
I don't know all the details. I'm probably not the best person to quote, but I've been told by several people that like I have to like go down to like the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and like re-up my driver's license to like get this like special like sigil on it, this little like star stamp on my driver's license so that I can like board a commercial air flight.
So how would that work with people from out of the country? Like if I were to come down to
I believe it.
America,
I think
would
then
I
it would
have
just I
would it
think it would be like passport related.
okay.
Yeah. Cuz it's specifically targets like people that own like a government issued ID.
Right.
But I don't know actually. I mean, that'd be a good question to bring up at your local federal office.
Right.
um, what was I talking about?
I don't know. Something
Something about my fiance. We
nihilistic
were doing
fiance
something.
the meaning of life, the universe and everything.
Oh, um, yeah, no, I lost it. We're gonna run that back. I don't remember. But
Well,
we were just talking about like the insignificance of
since yeah,
life and
you were talking about
just
how after like 2, 3 generations, you're pretty much forgotten about
yeah.
unless you
Oh
manage to.
yeah, no, I said that I've told my fiance time and time and time. I've been telling her this for years. We've been together for years and years and years. Um, but I've always told her I was like just like I don't want a burial. I'm not a religious person. I don't really follow that kind of stuff. And I feel like burials are always very like religious and hold this like spiritual meaning to them and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like,
May God
you know,
rest your
just
soul.
yeah, exactly, like stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just not me. That's not. I've never been like that. So I've always told her I was just like, you know what, like, make sure I get cremated. To be honest with you, I don't give a fuck what you do with my ashes because I'm not here. So
It's a
I
way of
mean, like,
looking at it.
yeah, it's just yes. I can't do anything with them. So like, if I go before you, like, whatever. So I mean, man, I'm not. It's not the most positive or optimistic outlook on life, but I'm just like, that's what we're here for. We're here to live our lives however we choose to live them, do a little bit of fucking, reproduce, and then like we go.
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
People,
it's a
people
cycle. It's all a
always,
cycle.
you get those people that are like, "Oh, what's our purpose? What's our meaning?" Like, you know what? Our purpose is just to have sex so humanity can live on.
I mean,
That
realistically,
is just what our brain is programmed to do, and whatever else we do in between is just icing on the cake.
I'm
You
more of a
feel me?
pie guy.
Well, cream on the pie then. That's weird.
Ooh, I'm all about cream.
I mean, that's what you need for humanity to live on, but that's not what I was going for.
You know,
Jesus Christ.
hey, you said it, not me.
The Cool
What
Whip
else?
on the pie, if you will.
The kufu.
The Cool Whip.
Kufu. Why you putting so much emphasis on the H? What are you talking about? I just want some kufu. Ah,
It's
fuck it, you're
say
eating
cool.
hair.
Cool. Say whip. Whip. Now say Cool Whip. Cool Whip.
Have you ever seen the other one that they did? And they're like, it was like Halloween night, and they both dressed up as like toga like Romans. Brian and Stewie did. And Stewie comes out, he's like, "Oh my god, this night is ruined." Brian's like, "What? It's what? It's ruined." Brian's like, Why are you saying it like that? Like, what would you call like ancient Greece?" Stewie's like, "Well, the ruins, of course. And what would you describe this night as?" "Well, it's ruined." He just like goes on. That's a good one. I'll just send it to you later. That's a good one. Anyways,
Uh, you got distracted way too fucking easy.
dude, it's so easy. What
Oh
is
yeah,
another one?
I had a thought on my mind about the being forgotten generations and things. Or still going back to this.
Shit, we're still
Uh,
this is okay.
I had I don't know, I think it was the last podcast that I did sort of on my own. It's kind of like a late night one, kind of half-assed, but I was sort of talking about
Oh, is that why
how
we technically didn't have that much of a lapse in episodes?
maybe I don't know.
I
This was like
I'm gonna be honest with you, did not
pre
listen to that shit.
co-host,
I'll go back and listen to it though.
but
I'll at least
I think
click
it's
on it so I
called
get the view.
I think it's called a show run by a tired man or something because it was like 2 a.m.
Was that recent? When
No,
was that?
this is before I made you official co-host. So
Oh shit. Okay, so I might have already listened to it.
yeah, that was I was kind of rambling on in my tired state about how I don't really want to be just forgotten. Like at this time, if I disappeared tomorrow, be it death or alien abduction, or I just wanted to live in the woods like a Sasquatch, uh, the amount of people who would be like, "Oh shit, where'd Devin go?" would
Mhm.
be in my mind abysmal. And I kind
Yeah,
of
I mean that's what I'm saying.
I
It's
don't
like
really want
10
to.
of like 7 billion.
Yeah, I don't really want that.
Which is
I want at least a small town's worth of people being like, ah, it's a shame he's gone.
I don't think I feel the same.
Really?
I really
You don't want to
don't.
die famous or anything like that?
I just
Or at
really
least
don't.
semi-famous?
I really don't think so. I think I just, I I don't want to I don't want to feel as though I'm at the cuffs of others. I have spent so many years trying to find self-happiness that like that's what I strive for. It's just like if I were to go tomorrow, my last wish is just to be like my final 30 seconds to just be pure happiness. And so I think that that's what I strive for most. And so I'm just kind of like, if I die unhappy, then like I'm fucked, like fuck,
Hmm.
this was all waste. However, if I were to die happy, then I'm like, fuck it, dude, I don't give a shit about anybody else. I'm dead. Who gives a fuck? Like, I get what you're saying, like
I
you
want
want
to
to
have like
be,
some
you
kind
want
of
like
legacy to leave
someone to just
behind, you
kind of
know?
be like, yeah, you want someone to just kind of be like, oh yeah, that dude he was an attractive cat, opposed to just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
I get that, but I truly am just kind of like, dude, fuck all of you. Like, I want to be happy myself. I
That's
fought
fair.
so
That's
long to
that's
just be
I
happy
can
myself.
I can understand that.
So, I mean, that's
I honestly feel the same.
might
You
be
know,
the
I
depression
wanna
peeking through, but just that's what I'm going for.
I feel the same way. Like I don't wanna die sad for fuck's sakes, because
No,
that's sad. No one wants to be
that's sad as
sad.
fuck. No, I don't want
I
anybody to
think,
be sad. I
but I
want
think
everybody
like
to be happy.
I definitely get a level of enjoyment out of seeing other people laugh and have fun and
Oh,
just have a
absolutely.
good
Yeah.
fucking time. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what life's all about, for sure.
if through entertainment, which that's what I like doing. I like being in an acting and all that stuff.
Mhm.
If through that way
Mhm.
I can provide people entertainment and make other people happy, then that makes me happy. And I think that's probably why part of me is like I want people to have something to remember me by, something that will
Mhm.
make them when they think of me, they think of something that makes them happy, you know?
No, for sure. Oh yeah. I mean, hell, when I was in middle school and high school, I mean, I was on stage all the time. I did plays, musicals. I was in, I don't know how prevalent it is in Canada, but we have this thing called show choir down here. It's basically just singing and dancing,
I
for
think
30
some
minutes at a time.
provinces have choir.
Yeah.
I know Winnipeg
And
does.
I was on stage all the time, and I never really felt like I um, was inadequate or lacked any of the ability to do so. I certainly never really got nervous all that much while I was on stage, um, or like anxious or anything like that. What was weird is that like once I graduated like high school, primary school, and I got to college, I just like got like I just always had like this crazy anxiety of like what other people thought, what other people felt. I was always so worried about like my perception on people and all that kind of shit. Um, and it's taken a really long time to just kind of be like, I don't even fucking know who these people are. Like, why the fuck do I care about like what they think or what they do? And it's kind of like when we had Jesse on the last episode earlier this month, and he was all worried about like, oh, well, what are the people from high school going to say about me working on this game? And I was kind of like, fuck it, like, who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah,
when was the last time you even talked to these people? Like, if developing that project makes you happy, if developing that takes up your free time and like that's what you want to do, then like fuck that shit. I'm sitting here playing goddamn video games, 3 or 4 hours a night, a few days a week because like that's what I want to do. Like I don't
yeah.
give a shit. Like if somebody thinks that that's lame or I'm wasting my time, like I don't give a fuck. Like
But
it's my
video
time. That's
games
the beauty
cause
of it. It's like
violence. They're gonna cause
oh
violence.
fucking god, we haven't talked since that bullshit. I know for a fact. Oh my lord. Dude, I couldn't even believe that this was even a thing.
It's been a
Like
thing
this
for a long time. I'm
no, no,
amazed.
no, I know.
It's
I know. When
disappeared, but
I
now it's
remember
kind
when
of
I was a senior in
resurfaced.
high school. When I was a senior in high school, I had to take this it was a composition course when I was in high school. My 12th year. I had to take a composition course, and for our final project, we had to write this. It was a pretty. Hang on one second. No, sorry, I had to burp. Wanted to cut that out, but I probably caught the last end of it. Anyways, um, we had to write this persuasion paper, but it was a project. It was I think like minimum of like 15 pages, pretty lengthy project for a high school student.
Hmm.
And we essentially had to like create these like little like workbooks. But we had to basically find a topic and then like persuade our audience that like you know, this is what is right sort of deal. But obviously, it's all still very subjective because even research, as far as, sociological issues, is all kind of like, yeah, well, the research might still be there, but like, we're all still going to have fucking opinions about it type shit.
Hmm.
Well, I did my project on um, the effects of teens and violent video games. Uh, because I've been playing video games my whole life. Played a fuck ton of violent video games when I was in high school. Um, the problem is that nobody wanted when I was in school, when I was in high school. Um, all the research papers, in published uh, journals and news reports and all that kind of stuff. No articles were ever researching the fact that like violent video games did not cause um, you know disrupted behavior in teens, or that it never caught. It was always that violent video games truly led to malbehavior and like increased aggression and all this shit. So I legitimately, I wrote a paper. I wrote an entire. I mean, it was like 12 to 15 pages long. And I wrote this huge paper about how violent video games did actually make teens more aggressive. However, I had the completely different fucking viewpoint on it, and I did not agree with a single word that I wrote that paper on. And I had to like present this entire paper with like a 5 or 10 minute presentation in class of like how violent video games were just like destroying youth, and how Grand Theft Auto was like the biggest culprit in creating this monster generation that just made people want to like shoot up gas stations and run over old ladies with their walkers on the sidewalks. And the whole time I'm just like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I've never hit anybody with a car. I've never I've never wanted to shoot up a school or a bank, or rob somebody. Like the fact that these politicians today, after these heinous crimes that these fucking dirtbags are committing, they just want to be like, yep, it's Call of Duty. It's Fortnite. Fortnite is making everybody shoot up schools. That's what it is.
Yep,
Fucking
it's gotta
Fortnite.
be.
Fortnite itself. Literally, Fortnite shot the schools. It's like, really? Go fuck yourself. Okay? The thing that really pissed me off about this whole thing is I'm pretty sure, and somebody fact check me, but I'm pretty sure even fucking President Trump made a comment about this shit, about the video game shit.
It's like
And I'm like,
grisly. I think it's I don't know what his exact quote was, but it was like grisly and grotesque video games or violent video games, or something like that.
yeah. And I'm just like, when was the last time you even fucking played a video game, dude? Pong? Like, go fuck yourself. Like, I play violent video games every day.
Dude, same.
Every day. And and to think that anybody that, you know, sure, maybe school shooters do play video games. I'm sure they do. Billions of people around the world play video games. So, we've got 10 school shootings, and we're just gonna throw all of it on fucking Fortnite and Call of Duty. Like, yep,
Makes sense
here's
to
our
me.
scapegoat this time. It's like, go. It's so irritating because, and I think it irritates me so much because I mean, I back I back the video game community so strong. I I love the community of so many video games, and I've made I've made some of my best friends through video games over the years online. And people, I mean, people that for years I had never even met in person. And this past summer, I actually did get to meet most of them in person. We went to an event together and whatnot. But it's like I've made such great friendships off of playing video games with people that like I know that that shit's possible to just like this is real life. I mean, it's just occurring through a computer screen. And so for some fucking old fucking washed up hag to think that like, oh well, video games are just washing the brains of our younger youth and they are just manipulating everything that they do. Like, no, like you don't spend enough time online because being online is literally being alive anymore. I don't know if you've watched Black Mirror on Netflix, which if you haven't,
No.
you fucking should.
All right.
Uh, but it's no, seriously, like
I'll
add
add
that
that
one
to
to your
the
watch
list.
list. No, 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 like legit, like maybe throw it to the top of the list. The first couple seasons they weren't produced by Netflix, but then I think season 3, 4, and 5. The first two seasons were absolutely spectacular. I think they were produced by BBC. Um, just wonderful television. But basically, the premise of the show, and it's not, there's no specific order, like there's no lineage to it. Um, it's just that like this, each episode is kind of like engulfed with like this futuristic tech or invention or some sort of thing like that, and how ultimately it will just ruin like our fucking lives as humans. So like the whole idea of the show is like, we probably shouldn't like try and advance technology more than we could really handle because technology is just gonna fucking kill us in the end. Um, I mean, with all this video game talk and like mass media all over social network, it really just like makes me think of an episode of Black Mirror of like where they're just so disconnected by the overwhelming majority that they think that if they just try and attack something at its core, then like everybody will just kind of catch on and will just be, everything's gonna be fine. No more fucking genocide's gonna occur if we just all fucking back what one goddamn politician's saying. Because that's how the world works. Pisses me off that they're fucking playing video games for this shit.
Yep.
Sorry. That's my 2 cents, dude.
Yeah, that's I think I hope at least most people are in agreement with that.
I mean, I
Feel
don't
the
know,
same way.
but the amount of fucking just fucking Trump dick riders that are just that are all over it. They're like, "Oh yeah, dude, look, we need to fucking crack down on video games because they're." However, we're cracking down on video games, but we're still watching fucking movies that include gang banging and fucking war and drug dealing, prostitution and sex, pornography, and fucking, the list goes on. Give me 5 minutes. I'm a little drunk, so I'm not gonna fucking spew out the whole list. But we're consuming other media outside of video games that is not only the same but worse.
Yeah,
Like we we try and think that it's normal for television and movies to produce similar content, but when somebody has a remote control in their fucking hand and they're controlling what's going on, that's the problem. That's what's causing all this chaos and fucking mal. Oh, it irritates the fuck out of me. I can't even speak because to think that like somebody's being more brainwashed by Grand Theft Auto than they are by a fucking Friday the 13th movie is insane.
there are articles. I'm having trouble finding an actual one, but I've read articles of I don't know, kids just bullying other kids because they don't have Fortnite skins or something retarded like that.
Hmm.
Which I can see someone who's like, "Oh, video games cause violence." I can see them trying to use something like that as their evidence, but
Hmm.
here's my counter argument to that. I don't think it's the video game that is causing these kids to bully these other kids because they don't have Fortnite skins. I would
Hmm.
say it is the poor parenting and the lack of discipline on the children that are involved. I've
I
played
agree with
I played a
both
number of video
points.
games, both violent and otherwise, since I think I was 6 when I first got a PS2, got Grand Theft Auto San
Hmm.
Andreas.
That's probably
I've
around the age I was.
never been violent towards
I would have
anyone,
been a little older. I was
never had someone
nine,
be
10,
violent
11. It's
towards me
forgettable. Yeah.
because I don't know what you're saying. Uh,
What?
because I was well disciplined. If I was getting angry at the game, my mom would said, "All right, time to turn it off. Go to bed."
Yep. Same.
Same with you. Yeah,
hmm
that's proper parenting. If you just were like, if parents
Yeah, my
parents
mom used to beat
are
my ass, dude.
yeah,
Like,
parents these days are
and not
being
I'm
too
not condoning. I'm
I don't
not
mean to
condoning that type of parenting
right.
by
Okay.
any means. But the lack of discipline is insane. I mean, that's why this, even the back end of my generation and most of your generation is, considered that entitled generation of just like, they get what they want
Soft
and they want what they,
fucking
yeah, they're fucking snowflakes,
pussies.
dude. Like, I fucking hate that term. I hate the term. Fucking hate it.
Hmm.
But Jesus Christ, if this is not the fucking most, descriptive goddamn word to describe most of these fucking people, from anyone from like the age of fucking, you know, 12 to 24, majority of these fucking people are fucking snowflakes.
Hmm.
It's like, you know, the these school shootings, and thank God we haven't fucking had one and since our last podcast. Actually, was our last podcast was when the US had well, they weren't school shootings, but they were, quote unquote mass shootings. It was
Yeah.
El Paso and Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
And, thankfully we haven't fucking seen any in the news,
Not in the
since,
news, but how many, not mass shootings probably, but how many shootings have happened that just don't make to the news
well, I don't know.
all the time?
Look up fucking Chicago stats.
Yeah.
Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the United States. Yet there's 50 homicides a weekend. I mean, it's it's not a matter of, you know, oh, guns are the problems, we need to take all guns away. Chicago did that. Chicago took all guns away. Chicago banned all of their citizens from purchasing firearms. Yet they have some of the highest homicide rates in the United States. If you took out, I'd have to, I don't, this is going to be from memory. This is not verbatim. This is not completely accurate. But I read once that if you took out, I think it was Chicago, St. Louis, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York City out of the United States, we would have like we wouldn't even be in like the top 50 of homicides per like, the countries around the world. And those numbers are not accurate, but like we would drop significantly in, gun violence and homicide rates and all that type of shit if you took like those or some five like major cities out, which all of which of those states or those cities, maybe minus St. Louis because it's in Missouri. I don't know for sure. But like New York has very strict gun control laws. Los Angeles, obviously, it's in California, very strict gun control laws. San Francisco, same thing. Illinois and Chicago, very strict gun control laws. Um, what are other ones that, gun violence is very prevalent? You've got drawing blanks, drawing blanks, drawing blanks. Um, fucking motherfucking goddamn 47. Um, Jesus Lord, I'm drunk. Uh,
More
there's a few
than
more that
4,000
I wanted
shooting
to fucking
victims in
talk about.
Chicago in 2016.
How many?
More than 4,000 shooting victims in 2016. Gun homicides
Oh,
in the city rose by 61% between 2015 and 2016.
hmm I have a buddy that lives up in Chicago, and I had tweeted out. It was it was around the time of our last podcast, I believe, and everybody was going, hooting and hollering like, "Oh, we need gun control. We need to take these guns off the streets. We need to do this and we need to do that." and I tweet out this. I literally all I looked up, I Googled. All I did, I just typed into Google. I said Chicago homicides weekend. Those are 3 words. Chicago homicide weekend. First article that popped up was from the day before. I'd posted, I think, on a Monday, so it was from like the Sunday before, and it was like 46 shot in Chicago, 17 wounded, yada yada, whatever. And I posted and I said, it's really funny that like everybody's, hooping and hollering about the Mississippi, or yeah, because it was right around, because during the El Paso, Texas stuff and Dayton, Ohio, I think there was something that happened in Mississippi also. So there's like 3 big ones, like kind of like back to back to back to back type deal. And I was like, it's pretty crazy that everybody's, going up in arms about these 3, but nobody wants to fucking talk about Chicago. And then my buddy lives in Chicago, like tweeted me back about it and was like, "Oh well, we're actually on track to have one of our best Julys in since 2014." And I was like, 46 in one weekend's one of your best Julys? Like,
That's that's no.
that's pretty fucking
That's
terrible.
kind of fucked.
But don't worry though. And guess what? It's the same fucking cycle. Nobody's fucking talked about it since the day after it happened. Nothing will
That's
ever
just
change in this country.
the way it goes. It's you
Yeah, I know.
fucking
That's
the
the news
second,
cycle. Nobody gives a shit after 48 hours.
yeah.
Once 48 hours
Even less than
passes,
that. I would
nobody
dare say
cares.
24 hours. Like fuck, trends only last a few hours on Twitter, and
Yeah.
then
And
it's
that goes
back to
back to
whatever
exactly
celebrity's
the
getting married.
first thing that we fucking talked about. Everybody is too plugged in all the time, and that's why nothing lasts anymore. That's why nothing ever fucking changes. Because we expect everything now.
Right.
We don't want to wait for things. However, we think that if we fucking, tweet out like, oh, thoughts and prayers, hashtag, save the Amazon rainforest, that like all this shit's just gonna magically happen. Which the Amazon rainforest, guess what? Shit lights on fire, okay? The earth will fix itself. Let's go back to talking about Will Smith, okay? Like, he's got it covered for us with the Nat Geo special. But it's like, there are millions of firearms in the United States. Billions, probably. Owned by millions of citizens.
Isn't it like 3 firearms for every one civilian? It was
I
some
wouldn't,
ratio
I
like that I
wouldn't,
read somewhere.
I would not fucking doubt it. I wouldn't. And those, you have to think about those statistics as, those statistics come from registered firearm owners. Where else would they get those statistics from? So you not only have to think that, okay, 3 to 1, which would be like 900 million, considering there's like 320 million people in the U.S. I think somewhere around that.
So yeah, give or take a billion guns or so.
So say
That's
say
just
a billion
registered guns
guns.
too,
That's
because
registered guns.
yeah,
So we're not talking about guns that are you know owned by criminals, gangbangers, drug dealers, whatever. We're talking about registered guns that the government actually knows about. But then the other thing that people don't think about is there are so many states in the United States that when reselling a firearm, you do not have to produce a bill of sale. So you don't have to notify, the state police or, the federal government that like, oh, like in the state of Indiana, for example, which is where I reside. If I owned a firearm and I said, oh, I own this firearm, I want to sell it to so and so, it's literally as simple as, hey, I have this gun. You want to buy it? Yeah, sure. Here's cash. Oh, cool. Thanks for the cash. Here's a gun. Bye bye. Have a good day. I don't have to sign any paperwork. I don't have to transfer anything over. Nothing. It's just, oh, cool. See you later. Thanks for the cash. Here's a gun. Like,
wow.
I mean, and I would never sell a firearm to somebody that I didn't know. But that's me. That's not saying Joe Schmo in, wherever, wouldn't just be like, yeah, fuck it. You said he doesn't have a criminal record. I'll just, fucking sell him the gun. Because at the end of the day, say that, Joe Schmo sells the fucking gun to, fucking whomever, and then whomever fucking goes and commits a crime with it, and then throws the fucking gun in the dumpster. Cops find the gun in the dumpster. Well, they track that serial number back to Joe Schmo, and they say, well, I sold that gun like 2 months ago. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What you gonna do?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
bit of a loophole there.
realistically, yeah, it is. But like, we're talking about billions of guns. Like,
Yeah.
no system will ever stop that or ever recoup that. Buybacks are not a thing. Like, the fact that politicians continue to fucking suggest that, these firearm buybacks are ever going to take off. No law abiding gun owner is ever going to sell their firearms back to the government. Never. Never. And personally, I would be prosecuted before I ever did that. I would. Because you're not going to fucking step on my toes as a citizen. That is a right in my fucking Bill of Rights, a part of the Constitution of the United States. Just as the freedom of speech is in there, just as there will be no illegal search or seizures by the government. We will not quarter troops. We will not fucking have to, you know, not be tried without a civil juror. I mean, these are faucets of what makes America America. And yes, bad things have occurred for many years now. And I think that the biggest thing that people forget is that not only have these things been going on for decades, and maybe not to the scale that they are now. And I will say that yes, there's more of these quote unquote mass shootings or school shootings or whatever occurring within much recent memory. But I think that the biggest thing for a lot of it just comes down to the ease of exposure to learn about these types of things. We have the news cycle at our fingertips every single second of our every single day. All you have to do is log into Twitter. You know exactly what's going on as soon as it occurs, within seconds. 10 years ago, when actually, when was Sandy Hook? That was 2013, 12.
2000, yeah.
Okay, so 2012. Twitter was still kind of like, eh. It wasn't like everyone was there. You take Sandy Hook today, everyone knows about it in 2 seconds. But
Pretty much the instant it happens. Like,
Sandy Hook was on the news for weeks. You take Sandy Hook in 2019, it's gone in 48 hours. Guarantee it.
I'd say it would trend for probably 6 hours, 10 being generous. Um,
Look at the fucking Amazon rainforest.
16 hours
That
later,
was
I'd
cool for
say
18 hours.
half the people talking about it have fucked off. 24 hours later, no one's talking about it anymore.
No, because something else happened.
Hmm.
Because that we as humans don't have the attention span anymore to care about anything for more than 24 hours. Fuck, I can barely make it through a 60-second Instagram video
Legit
before I'm
though.
scrolling past it. Like, I honestly, I don't fucking care. like, like I don't even care about. I me and my fiance go back and forth all the time because she's a movie person. She likes to watch movies. I fucking hate movies, and I hate movies because I cannot sit and watch the same fucking movie for an hour and a half. I need like 22-minute episodes. That's why I like fucking Twitch streams, dude. Like it's always something different. It's not even fucking chronological. Like it's just random shit. It's something fresh and new. The idea that like people are gonna sit around and wait and like listen for more information and oh we need to get the story. Like nobody fucking cares anymore because we have brand new news as every time that we swipe down on our goddamn phones to refresh our page. Nothing is relevant anymore. Nothing. And I think that in itself is why the United States will never be able to successfully hold on to any sort of true gun control legislation in the United States. Because when the spark's there, you've got millions backing it. But gun control's not popping up on my feed. I'm a pro gunner. I love firearms. I think they're great. I think that they're great for sport. I think they're great for recreation. I think they're great for self defense. I think they're great for a lot of different things. I support and I advocate for all of my loved ones to own some sort of firearm and to learn how to use it. That's the biggest thing. Learning how to use something is number one. You don't buy a car before you have a license. Learn to drive,
Hmm.
then buy a car. Learn how to use a fire. Understand the intricacies behind it. Learn how to shoot. Learn when and when it is not, appropriate to actually use it. I never want to use any of my in a self-defense manner. I never wish that upon myself. That's one of the scariest things that I could think of because I know if that moment were to arise, then it's either me or someone else. And I hope I never have to make that decision. I hope nobody ever has to make that decision, but it does happen every day. But I do advocate for my loved ones to be ready for that day if they so have to. No true law abiding, true pro gun individual is waiting for that day to happen. Nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants that moment where, it's sink or swim. That's terrifying. Even for the biggest advocate or pro gunner in the world. Or as, a lot of people on the left just call them lunatics. Like nobody wants that. And I certainly do not. But we this idea that we could just, snap our fingers like Thanos and just fucking make them all disappear is insane. There's millions of them
Hmm.
everywhere. Millions of them that the government doesn't even fucking know about. And then there's millions of people in the world in the US that not only the government may well there's millions of people in the US that the government doesn't even know about, but there's millions of people in the US that the government or that the people don't even want the government to know about. And then I mean there's too many lanes of traffic of just why this would never work. All true gun control legislation does is fuck the law abiding citizen. Any law abiding any law abiding citizen that owns, operates, carries a firearm is not going to break those laws because that person does not want to risk the repercussions of, you know, those legislations. But dude, the, the amount of people that don't give a fuck. All you're doing is you're arming the criminals. You're arming the ones that don't fucking care about the laws and government to begin with. You're disarming those that actually want to follow the rules. The ones that actually obtain licenses to carry, the ones that, go through the registration process, the ones that go through the background checks and all these other fucking steps that the government is imposing onto the citizens just for them to own a firearm. And if you try and keep piling and piling and piling and piling more and more and more onto these, onto this group of people, which I didn't even like to use, the term group of people, because it's fucking millions of people. I mean, it's such a large number. And I have such a hard time even fathoming what a million is. I mean, like if you even thought about that, like just like gross number of just like 1 million. It's a big fucking number.
1 million is big enough to go 10 million, 100 million.
Exactly. So what like the one of the biggest, one of the biggest arguments is just like, oh well, Australia had buybacks, just do buybacks. Okay, so what are we gonna just go knocking door to door? We're gonna send local law enforcement officers door to door, picking up guns, asking for guns. Sounds like a lot of casualties. Because I've, I'm probably gonna go out in a body bag. Because I'm not giving shit up. And I think there's millions and millions of people that are thinking the same. Because the day that American citizens give up their rights is the day that anarchy ensues. That's literally what this entire country was built upon. A group of dudes that hated the British monarch, hated their taxes, yet we're fucking taxed out of our dicks nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, it hasn't
And
changed
nobody wants to
much.
talk about that. Everybody just wants to talk about fucking abortion, smoking pot, and guns. Nobody wants to fucking talk about taxes unless it's concerning fucking Donald Trump's tax return, which, guess what, isn't fucking important because it's not a fucking requirement to be president of the United States. But like, dude, everybody's just. I should run for office, not president, but like mayor. I feel like I could be a mayor. Not in my city though, dude. Our fucking mayor's held fucking office as a Democrat for like fucking 18 years or some bullshit. He's a fucking cock smooch too. Can't fucking stand him. I used to work for the
I think
state,
I
so
would be a great president. Not that I would be a productive one, but I would be a very entertaining one, I think.
you mean prime minister?
No, I could be president.
No, you can't. You're not a U.S. born citizen. Yeah.
God damn it.
Got him. I feel like we should just. I
I
feel
don't
like
know
we
what
should take
I
a
don't know what we're
break
doing anymore.
right there. I feel like we should throw on a little bit of smooth jazz for like 4 minutes.
If you have anything that's not copyrighted, by all means.
I'm pretty sure on YouTube Edit, you can like throw in a few minutes of some
All
jazz.
right.
Realistic or primarily, I really got to take a piss, audience.
All right.
So sorry, that was very aggressive vocabulary there, and I apologize for that. We can edit that out. We should probably
You think
make a timestamp.
piss is the most aggressive vocabulary you've used so far tonight?
Well, I think it was the way I said it.
Go take a fucking piss, cunt.
What are you, fucking Steve Irwin? Jesus, dude. Oh, crikey. We'll look at this fucking crock here. We got
Oh,
this
check out
fucking.
this fucking gator right here, mate. You check out those teeth there. I see how
My,
close I can
my,
get to him.
my, my,
Give
my,
me, give
my,
me a
my,
good pat
my,
on the cheek there.
my, Mama said that alligators so angry because they got all them teeth, but no toothbrush. Yeah. All right, what movie is that from? Go on.
It's on the
Oh,
tip of
don't
my
show your
tongue.
age, man. Don't show your age. Go
I'm
on.
sorry.
Don't show your age. I'll give you a hint. It's Adam Sandler. Come on, you know it. Such a popular movie.
I feel like
Plays football. Adam Sandler in football.
uh fuck.
Come
I'm such a fucking whatever generation this is.
on. Waterboy, bro. Come on. You didn't know that? Have you ever seen Waterboy?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my god, dude. Why are we friends? Oh, Jesus, I need to reevaluate this friendship.
Because you need someone to talk to on your lonely drunk nights.
Hey, I can talk to myself all day.
Alright,
Actually, that's not true.
go to the bathroom.
Oh, well, don't yell at me. Jeez. Why don't you entertain our audience for 2 minutes?
I'll try. It probably won't go well.
I will be right back. Listen here to K265 with the slow jazz. No, no slow jazz. Okay. I'm really about to piss my pants, so I gotta
Alright.
go.
Stalling for way too long. Oh, jeez. That was a very long thing. This is what I enjoy. I feel like there's not enough uh people just take a second, sit the fuck down, and just talk with people. I don't know, he went on for probably like 25 minutes or so just on that alone. And if you didn't come out of that conversation thinking, you know what, this guy makes some sense, even though I may disagree with him, then there's a good chance that you're not open up to other people's opinions and you should really evaluate your life decisions, you know? There's there is so much that we as a brain spit it out. There is so much that we as a society could accomplish if we would just take a minute to fucking sit down with each other and talk about our shit. Liberals insulting conservatives, conservatives insulting liberals. They're just arguing and bitching on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and shouting in whatever democratic thing we have as a society where people go and talk. I use quotation marks there when they really just shout at each other and then disagree on everything. Could you imagine how much we could accomplish if liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans, whoever it happens to be in your country, just sit down for a fucking minute and one side take however long, discuss your feelings, go for a 20-minute rant like Gandhi did if you want to, then let the other guy discuss their opinions, go back and forth for a bit, meet somewhere in the middle, come up with a law that might work, or change a law to make it work, or do whatever, create a program, cancel a program, add money, take away money. I don't care. Whatever the fuck you think works. Just come to an agreement. Talk together, please. Anyway, I think Gandhi's back now.
And welcome back to K355 with the
The
slow
viewers
jazz.
got
What the fuck were you ranting about? I heard you yelling as you walked into my office. Like, Jesus criminy, bro. What was
Yeah,
that
the
about? And
viewers
then you
got the
gotta.
exact opposite of smooth jazz. I was talking about how liberals and conservatives alike, if they would just take that minute to sit down and have a thorough, proper discussion about their feelings, their beliefs, their opinions, if they would take a minute to talk to each other, listen to each other, and actually meet in the middle and come up with laws or programs or whatever the fuck, and actually make this society move forward. Instead, they'd all rather just bitch at each other on Twitter, calling each other names, and not accomplishing anything. That kind of spun off from like I let you talk for like I don't know how long it was, 20 minutes or so, about
Oh yeah, no,
your
I went straight drunk Gandhi rant. I apologize for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to
Hey,
anybody that
hey,
stuck
no,
with me on that.
no, no worries. I want to hear people. I want to hear people's different opinions that might be different to my own. Whether I might agree, I might
No,
disagree.
no,
It doesn't matter. I
but I
don't
want to
care. I
hear
want to
your
hear
opinion.
what you want
I
to
want to hear your
say. You
opinion
know,
now. You heard mine. I want to
my
hear
opinion. Well, I think we
please,
should just.
please, because no. That's literally why we're here. This is
Okay,
what we do every time that we get on the mic together, because that's you and I've never been able to talk to anybody that, yes, me and you, as everyone knows, anybody that actually fucking listens, other than me and you, we don't agree on a lot of things, but that's why I
we
love
agree on
talking
a
to you,
lot of things,
because
but there are things that we do
but there
disagree
are a
on.
lot of there are a lot of things that we disagree on too, though.
Yes.
We agree on a lot. We agree that we agree that like, I don't want to say it, but we agree on a lot of things. but but we defer on many, many topics. But
Indeed.
but
Right.
we
So
never
the
we don't end in screaming matches. We have conversation. We talk to one another.
exactly.
We try and come to a common ground to some extent.
We try to
And we're never
understand
well
what the other
we
person's
we
coming
both
from,
we
and
both know that we will never change each other's opinions. That's, I think, the biggest thing with opinions in general, is that I know as a human, I know as a, which I don't consider myself a conservative individual. If I have to, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, "All right, you have to pick a political party," I I would more than likely say that I am a libertarian as far as American politics go. Uh, but I don't, there's a lot of things even within the Libertarian Party that I don't necessarily agree with. I'm a little more conservative or a little more Republican on those matters.
hmm
There are some things that I'm more liberal about, which is kind of why, like, the Libertarian Party always kind of, over the last few years has swayed me more. So if we're talking just straight political parties, I'm probably more of a libertarian in a sense. But that's why I've always enjoyed doing these sessions with you. It's just, we talk about things, we disagree on stuff, we create conversation, and that's really all I've ever wanted from any of this. Is just bringing conversation to light on so many different
hmm
issues that we can talk about, and it doesn't end in a fucking screaming match, because there's no point. Screaming solves nothing. Like,
No,
let's have discussion.
screaming,
Let's.
insulting, anything
Hmm.
like that, it doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you more mad, and if anything, we need more happiness in the world.
Hmm.
But anyway,
So
the
so tell me
the
tell me
topic at
your
hand
rant
here.
now.
Um, right. Well, in a perfect world, we just wouldn't have things that shoot things, but that's just me. I know that's never going to happen. So let's go for a more realistic approach here. Um, I agree that the gun issue will possibly never be fully solved in America, at least not for a very long time. Not for the reason that you think, that you said, but because I see
What's that?
that gun control, or not gun control, guns and firearms are very deeply ingrained in America's history and America's society, well, with the Second Amendment and all that.
I mean,
So to
it's
just
deeply ingrained in culture itself. I mean, it's essentially what our entire country was found upon.
yeah,
I mean,
so
like, the
I
United States was
understand that
found upon war.
to just up and change that it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And enough people go against trying to modify that that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to just up and change a whole bunch of gun laws just to try and attempt to mitigate these horrendous happenings in the U.S. Um, that's kind of what. So that's why I'm less now than I used to be on the oh just apply stricter gun laws, just fucking get rid of them. It's obviously that's not gonna work with with the way America is. So God damn it, I know I should have taken down notes, but when it with I wouldn't say, at least me personally, as a less pro gun person, I wouldn't say that I want to take away everyone's firearms, because that's not fair to the people who legitimately purchased them, legitimately purchased the whatever legal things you need, card, license, whatever, in order to have a firearm. And of course, there are people who just want to use a firearm to go to the shooting range, shoot out some targets. That I'll admit that's pretty fun. I think when I was 7, I think it was my 7th birthday, my brother took me to a shooting range in Calgary. So that was fun. I know you made a comparison to vehicles. How, with a car, before you even buy a car, you do a test, you pass the test, you get your license, then you learn
Mhm.
to drive the vehicle. Then, when you finally buy your own vehicle, uh, what do? You get it registered and you get
Mhm.
insured. So
Mhm.
I don't think it's entirely too much to ask that when you get a firearm, purchase a firearm, you have it registered. And
Mhm.
I would assume
Which
that
when you which
in most
when you
cases,
legally buy a firearm from a licensed gun dealer, that
yes,
firearm is immediately registered to the federal government.
right.
That each gun comes with a specific serial number
Hmm.
that is legally purchased from a legal firearms dealer, which
Yes,
you are then ran through the NCIU or NICU and NCUI, the national fucking database for
right.
firearms. You know, you're ran, you're vetted, you're background checked, on spot, and people have this like misconception, and it's thrown all over the media, and like, oh well, you walk into a store, you can leave with the gun that day. Yes, you can, but people aren't keeping up with technology. Like people aren't realizing, like, all these anti-gunners and everything, of like, they're like, oh well, you shouldn't just be able to walk into a store and buy a gun, whatever. Okay, well, you're
You can
if
walk
I
into a
went
store
if
and
I
buy a
went
gun
into
here.
Walmart, if I went into Walmart and I said, look, I want to buy this shotgun. Okay, cool. Give me your license. I need your address, your social security number, all this documentation, all this personal information,
Hmm.
because you are background checked on the spot.
Yeah,
In
it's,
2019,
I wanna
everything is
compare here.
instant. You can everything is ran right there on that computer through the NCIU, and you are vetted right there, right then and there. And you are either approved to buy that firearm or you are not. People
Yeah,
think that we're not going through background checks to purchase these firearms, but we are already background checked. This idea of like, oh well, we need universal background checks, these are already fucking occurring. This is a thing. These background checks are already happening. You can't do There's no such thing as an in-depth background check. A background check is a fucking background check. I don't want to like get I don't want to get like upset or riled up or anything. That's not what we do. But
I get upset
this
and
is
riled up
this
all
is
the time. Fuck
already
it.
happening. It's occurring.
Hmm.
But people think, because all these politicians throw out this term of universal background checks, like these background checks are happening. You can't do a deeper background check on somebody, because a background check is a fucking background check. It's all the same.
Yeah.
When you type in somebody's personal information, you're gonna get their criminal history. You're gonna get their BMV history. You're gonna get their you know credit score, their the fucking property ownership, all this stuff pops up on your background check. It's all there. That's what approves, denies of purchasing that firearm.
Hmm.
And
We
so,
had
but politicians continue to
what? I think you just cut out there. Hello,
a
Gandhi?
firearm from a legal licensed
Oh, he's
firearms
back.
dealer. And but these politicians, which primarily, specifically on the Democratic side of the political spectrum, continue to throw out this fucking fearmonger terminology that you can just walk in somewhere and say, "Oh, here's $200. Thanks for the gun. Bye bye now. I'm gonna go," as if we just hand these some bitches out like nothing was done.
Right. No, that's it's. I know people like to compare America's gun laws to any other country. So let's compare America and Canada. So we obviously we don't have guns in Walmart, but we there are stores like Bass Pro Shops or actual
Mm-hmm.
actual gun stores
Cabela's and stuff
you
like that. Yeah.
can you can go to and you can purchase any firearm and it's the exact same deal. They want your two pieces of ID and they'll
Mm-hmm.
do a background check. They want your address, your full name, all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the firearm, obviously some are more restrictive than others, and that's going to differ between the two countries. But generally, the
Yeah.
process is the same. Depending on the firearm, if it's just like a pistol or say a hunting rifle or something like that, then you can pretty much walk out the store with the gun that day. Obviously, after a while of background checks and money exchanging hands. And then with certain guns with more high-powered rifles and such, the process can take up to a week or two as it goes to I think it's in Ottawa or Ontario, but there is like a company that looks at your background details and all that stuff, and then they determine that whether or not you are suitable to have the firearm or not. And
Mm-hmm.
then you get the
And that.
paperwork, which you have to have with you at all times. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't, then that's kind of a naughty.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And there are plenty of states, and I don't mean to cut you off, man, but there are plenty of states in the United States that do require actual waiting times.
mhm,
Like they require, 3 to 7 days. Sometimes I think some states are even up to 2 weeks before you actually can possess that firearm.
yeah,
Um, and then that varies from state to state, but that's also under the jurisdiction of another one of our first 10 amendments in our Bill of Rights that states hold the power to determine certain laws state to state. I mean that and I hate to use the term like, oh, that's the beauty of the United States. Every state's different, but it truly is. Every state in the United States is different. It, it's better to think of the United States not only as one true country, but really like 50 sub countries, because states hold many powers to themselves internally that are outside of the United States. Take even, which is still a big topic and will be a big topic as far as federal politics go for the next 5 to 10 years, as in, marijuana laws in the United States.
mhm,
Federally, marijuana is illegal, but I think we're up to like 13 or 14 states now in the union that have legalized recreational marijuana use. I live in the state of Indiana. Indiana, it is illegal to possess, use, distribute, grow, produce marijuana or THC products. It's illegal. However, Colorado, Maine, Michigan, Washington, D.C., Washington, Oregon, California, I think Virginia, maybe not Virginia, but I think Massachusetts decriminalized marijuana. There's a few others that have decriminalized marijuana use. Um, there's a few others that have legalized marijuana use. on the recreational level. I think Nevada is one that has legalized marijuana. I mean, I don't remember all of them, but
Hmm.
there's like 12 or 14 different states that have legalized marijuana use. But then the other, 36 states, it's still illegal to produce, manufacture, use, distribute marijuana. But that's because there's a separation between federal and state legislation, and those are those loopholes there. Now, with all those states that have legalized marijuana, all that all the tax revenue that has been produced from the sale and distribution of marijuana cannot be paid by the state to the federal government for federal tax purposes, because states have to pay the federal government taxes. And so that's been a big thing. Like, since Colorado legalized marijuana back in 2014, Colorado produced millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue from the legal distribution of marijuana. However, all that money that Colorado produced from the legal distribution of marijuana through businesses, dispensaries, all that type of shit, um, that money cannot be that money from the marijuana industry cannot pay the federal government, because on the federal government level, marijuana use is still illegal, and that is an illegal form of revenue in the eyes of the federal government. However, on the state level, that revenue is completely legal, and that money can go towards paying state taxes, going towards funding schools and hospitals, and all this other stuff that's on the state level outside of federal income and federal grant. And and it's, those same kind of laws apply at the state level as far as that separation between federal and state government.
Hmm. I'm just gonna say move your mic away from your mouth just a little bit there. But yeah, it's
Sorry.
yeah, that's the we've similar thing up here with our provinces. Provinces vary in tax rates. They vary in different provincial laws for different legislations for different I don't know vehicles or even gun laws vary between the different provinces.
Hmm.
But, uh, but to get back on the topic at hand, uh, so we acknowledge that uh, to acquire a gun, there is obvious background checks. There is paperwork involved in both in Canada and the U.S. Probably to some slightly different degrees, but it's similar.
Yeah, I
So
mean, for the most part, yeah.
uh, so then the big question that we should then ask ourselves is if these two countries are similar in as far as the process to acquire a gun and then the restrictions behind the gun, why does one country have so many more uh, gun incidences than the other? I I would put it down, maybe not solely to this, but as you were saying, down to education or the lack thereof of the use of firearms. For one, to if everyone was well versed in uh, the use of firearms, how to use them safely, when it's appropriate to use them, when it's not appropriate to use them, that would, for one thing, reduce the amount of accidental shootings, which I don't know the exact number, but I think it is fairly high, accidental shootings.
I do believe that, as far as gun deaths per capita year, a large majority of them, well, the vast majority of gun deaths per year in the U.S. is suicide related.
Right. So that
So,
that brings me,
which is a completely different topic. We're starting to talk about mental health then.
yeah, that was
Uh,
my next thing is um
but
again, I'm
uh,
not trying to rule it out to just one cause because there are multiple causes behind most, if not every issue. But another
I was
another
just
thing
going to
would
say
be
I was
I
just
know
going
people
to
got
say
op
the
I'll let you go.
go ahead. No, 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 you go ahead.
Okay. I know when Trump, I think at some point Trump said that mental disability, he was trying to put the blame on that on
Well, that's what
gun
stemmed
violence.
this whole red flag shit. That
And I know
I've
a lot of
gotten a
people got
lot of panties in
up in arms about
my
that,
opinion,
but
been fucking much about it.
to
Because what's the cutoff? What's the cutoff for your red flag laws? And so the premise behind this red flag laws is like, so say I have a neighbor
mhm,
and me and my neighbor don't get along. Say my the grass in my front yard is, you know, too long, and my neighbor's been going back and forth with me, and I get mouthy with him, and I, start hooting and hollering at him, and I'm, hey, guess what, buddy? Go fuck yourself. It's my fucking grass. I'll mow it when I want to. Well, that neighbor could then call authorities, say, listen, he's unstable. I don't think he's a safe, sane individual. He's very uneasy with me. He's making me very uncomfortable. Yada yada. We go on and go on. Well, then I've got my name on the list of the authorities. And then I get put
right.
on a list. And so then, that's a quote unquote red flag. And so then, my name's on this list of like, oh, well, he's got a short fuse. He's getting pissed off about his fucking grass. Maybe we should, make hinder his ability to purchase a fire or to own his fire. And if it got to the point of like, oh, well, we think he's unstable, we really don't think that he should own a firearm, then the authorities, police, could then come with, a legally obtained warrant to then repossess all of my legally owned firearms just because I got into a fucking tiff with my neighbor about goddamn grass in my yard. So that's where this big, controversy with these red flag laws have come into play. My biggest fucking uh, gripe with these red flag laws is that they have been supported, and not just supported, but primarily backed by, you know, quote unquote Republican legislators who are supposed to be, these pro gun, like, keep your rights, we're not going to take those away, yada yada, whatever politicians. And so, but the big takeaway from your red flag laws is that, where's the concrete line of, this is what is a red flag, this is what the, being pissed off about your grass and getting into with your neighbor, that's not a red flag, but like, where's the cutoff? There hasn't
Yeah.
been any concrete, just like, this is the line. If you cross it, it's a red flag. If you don't, it's been a bunch of shit.
Yeah, I see the concern for that. I feel like at least
And
in a
even
perfect world there would be some sense to it where I don't know, whoever oversees the red flags would be like, all right, well, this is just a couple neighbors getting in a fight over some fucking grass. This is a guy who might be, meanwhile, this completely different case on the other side of the country is like, okay, this guy might be a genuine concern. Let's look into it. And then at that point, they could, I don't know, conduct interviews or do whatever they need to do some, even before they directly contact the person, they could do some their background checks, because I know that they've got a database of sorts they could look into and determine, all right, is this person have any kind of history that we should be concerned about? And then if it's still kind of maybe they should be checked out, then then you could take it to, I guess, physical confrontation, do an interview, do have them get a checkup or something, and then determine, okay, well, this person's fine, or okay, this person should probably see some medical help, and then if necessary, restrict access to their firearms until they have received their medical help that uh, they should have. I don't think, at least it would be entirely unfair, as you're saying, for the government to just be like, oh, well, this guy's getting way too angry about his grass. Let's take away his guns. That's fucking ridiculous, if you
But
ask
that's
me.
essentially like, that's a basis of like what these red flag laws could really mean for the American citizen.
Hmm.
And even and President Trump even contradicted himself in a tweet. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm an advisor to the president, or I don't control his Twitter account. But he had tweeted out a couple weeks ago about, I think it was about like a news reporter or something, and just how like the news reporter was, saying some things that were pretty, out there and uh, semi. I don't want to say threat leveling or anything like that. Because I don't know the whole, I can't remember the whole background behind it. But Trump had even tweeted out like, oh, so and so is, you know, basically being a dickbag about, to Trump, and Trump was like, I think he's unstable. I think that's a red flag. He shouldn't be able to own a firearm. And it's like, what? Because somebody said some shit that you didn't like they're gonna lose
Yeah.
like their constitutional right, to possess a firearm. It's you know when you have you know your country's leader, tweeting that type of shit out. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we really focused on? Because it seems like all you're really focused on is stirring the fucking pot, like a goddamn pot of chicken noodle soup. But we're not changing anything here. And again, even these red flag laws haven't been fucking brought up in the media for weeks.
No.
Which still just goes back to what we were previously talking about.
Yeah. It's
Just
the
nothing
the news
fucking
cycle.
matters.
Just
Like,
no
it,
one gives a shit after 24 hours.
no.
But I
Oops.
feel like you're saying with, there's I feel like no matter what kind of system you put in place to try and identify people who might not be suitable for firearms or anything for that matter, no matter what system you put in, there's going to be people who are like, "Oh, I don't like the look this guy gave me this morning. Let's fucking tattle him to the government so they take away his guns." There's
I
always going to
mean,
be someone who does like that because there's idiots like that everywhere in every
hmm,
society, and no matter what.
absolutely.
It's just hopefully the people who are regulating, doing the actual checking and stuff, aren't dumb enough to just be like, well, we'll just take away his guns. We'll just take away his guns. Oh, this guy said he's bad, so it must be bad. I hope that they
But that's the system that
actually
they're
put
trying to
in.
implement. They're trying to get our society to just like flip flop on itself. Of if the politicians and the masses can convince enough people that, like, oh well, yeah, all these people are, you know actually pretty fucking crazy. They shouldn't be able to have their rights. But then where does it stop after that? And
Hmm.
I don't want to sound rash. I don't want to sound like, oh, the gun, having our gun rights is the only thing keeping this society afloat. But you know let's say they take away all guns. They just ban every single one. Ban every gun. A huge, huge push, huge fucking door to door knocking by police of like, we're here to confiscate guns. Just mass confiscation. Not buybacks, not, turn them in, just mass confiscation. We're knocking door to door. So then when that occurs, or if that were to occur, not when that occurs, if that were to occur, we're violating our Fourth Amendment right off the bat for illegal search and seizure
Hmm.
of property. But then we take our guns away. We've then already given up our Fourth Amendment right of illegal search and seizure. What's next? Our First Amendment right? We're not going to be able to talk poorly about our government anymore because we have nothing to protect ourselves from our government. Our government, the United States government, spends the most out of any country in the entire world on defense for quote unquote war purposes. But there's also nothing stopping the United States government of just creating this entire tyrannical genocide against all of its citizens that disagree with the actual federal government, other than the fact that the American people can legitimately fight back because we possess billions of firearms.
Yeah.
And so then with this confiscation of the Second Amendment right and all firearms within the United States, we lose our Fourth Amendment right. We've already lost our second. They go after our first, and then we lose our state rights and strictly have to abide by federal law. We, with all of that in said, we then probably lose our, I think it's our Eighth Amendment right, which is the right to not have excessive bail or sentence for prosecution. So then all those people that disagreed and talked poorly about the government are then persecuted to the fucking 10th degree. I mean, it's a slippery slope that, ultimately all stems from the Second Amendment in the United States. I mean, I understand the argument of like, yes, gun violence in the United States is a massive problem, but it has been for decades. But what a lot of people like to forget is that as what a lot of people like to forget is that since the 1990s, violence as a whole in the United States has actually been declining. It's been a steady decline since the 1990s. It has not risen, it has not plateaued, it's still been declining. And so, with that decline, there has also been an incline of gun purchases within the United States. So, you can't say that more guns means more violence. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, with just that media in the world today is everything. I mean, it
Hmm.
lays the platform of everything that we do as a society. Everybody's watching the news. Everybody's got Twitter. Everybody's got Facebook, Instagram. I mean, we are circulated with news 24/7. We get alerts on our phone when there's, an amber alert within our state. We
Hmm.
get alerts on our phone when, there's bad weather or when there's, I live very close to a college campus. When there's a robbery or something on campus, I get notified by campus police through a text messaging service, an automated text messaging service that says, "Hey, avoid this area because there's an armed robber, or there's, traffic lights are out." Or I mean, we are always surrounded by news at all times, and I think that's the only reason that we're having these conversations today, because we're always consumed by it.
Right.
It's not that it's happening more; it's just that we know about it more.
That's a way of looking at it. Yeah, that's actually something that I hadn't quite considered. But like, yeah, I get what you're saying. How like it's always been violence has always been a thing, and now whether or not it's happening more, we're just more exposed to it. Its existence.
The best
It's
way that
like
I've ever thought about it is think back to the Wild Wild West. Gold
great
Rush,
movie.
California.
Will Smith, love
No,
it.
Will Smith comes up again. No, no. I mean like the real Wild West. Cowboys and Gold Rush and
Hmm.
six shooters. People would rob banks. People would, shoot people on the spot, and people would get away with it.
Yeah,
You don't get away with bank robbery. Why? Because your face is on every news platform in the matter of minutes as soon as you rob a bank. Because security cameras and CNN and Fox News and local news stations that the bank robberies occurred in, you know, everything is plastered and billboard and just posterized immediately. But, 100 years ago, when media wasn't what it is today, when everything was just print and you got the newspaper once a week, you know, even 30 years ago, when news media wasn't what it is today. You didn't have social media 30 years ago. You had the 6 a.m. news and the 6 p.m. news. But now you've got, the 6 a.m. news, 12 o'clock news, the 6 p.m. news, the 10 p.m. news. You got Twitter 24/7, you got Facebook 24/7. News is everywhere, and we are consuming it at every minute of our day, even if we try not to. Because even if we try not to consume it, somebody that we're going to interact with has probably consumed it, and they're probably going to bring it to our attention.
Hmm.
So I
I don't know
stand by
if
the idea that we don't, not that we don't have a violence. Yes, violence is there. I will never deny that violence is not. I hate that our world is engulfed with violence, but I also hate the fact that the only news that we consume is violence oriented. When was the last time you turned the news on and it was something positive, something happy occurring in the news? But that doesn't bring ratings. You turn on the news, it's going to be the same cycle. There's a severe storm down south. There was a fire somewhere close to your neighborhood. There was probably a shooting. There was probably a police chase. And then you'll probably get one news article about how somebody went to a children's hospital and like played board games with them all day. There's your fucking 6 o'clock news right there in 2 seconds. 4 out of the 5 stories, it's all bad news.
hmm
And we think that it happens every day because that's all we hear about.
there was I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast. I think I have. How I think it was early in his term where Trump tweeted out how the media is the enemy of the people or something like that, and everyone was up in
Hmm.
arms about it.
Hmm.
Um, I almost agree with that statement to a point because the media is so undeniably powerful.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Whatever big news agency, CNN, Fox News,
Hmm.
whatever they want to be the top story of the day, it is the
That's
top
what it
story
is.
of the day and everybody's talking about it.
Hmm.
It could
Absolutely.
be the most insignificant thing to happen in US and Canada overseas. If
Hmm.
they want it to be the biggest thing anyone's ever heard about, they can make that happen. The media
Go,
is
go back to,
unbelievably
dude,
powerful.
go back to the rainforest shit. The Amazon.
Yeah,
Shit was on
you
fire for like 3 fucking
that was
weeks.
on for like
We talked about it for a day.
2 days. Yeah, not even.
It was on fire for weeks before it even got any news, before it got any media coverage, any major platform, on
Yep.
any major news source. But it was on fire for weeks before
And
it got
now
any sort
look,
of
a couple
exposure.
days after that, what's on
Gone.
now? Hashtag during sex don't yell out blank. Margaret Robbie, Johnny Depp. Don't see anything about a
Hurricane Doris.
rainforest here.
Yep.
Still on fire last I checked.
Hmm. Yeah. And then nobody wants to talk about, no major news source wants to talk about how the Brazilian government hasn't want to accept any, help from foreign aid or donations or anything like that. But I've seen that all over the web about, a lot of people have tried to step up and been like, hey, we'll
Hmm.
we'll try and help. But the Brazilian government's been like, no, we don't want your fucking help, because what I've read, and I'm not a I'm not a news reporter, I'm not a politician, certainly not an activist of anything that goes on in Brazil, but everything I've read is like, well, the Brazilian government is so goddamn corrupt. They want the sumbitch to fucking burn down because they want to actually fucking like build where the goddamn rainforest is.
Yeah,
They want to like make up like uh um what's the word I'm looking for? Um, come on, help me out, help me out, help me out, help me out. They want to they want to like urbanize the
yeah,
area. They want to develop it. That's the word I'm looking for. They want to
yeah.
develop
I was just about to
like
say that.
these rainforest lands. So they don't want to stop the fires. They want that shit to burn down because they want that clear land. That's free fucking labor. Like but also at the end of the day, like you can't stop a fucking massive wildfire. Like you just kind of have to let it run its course because that's what the earth does. The earth, I mean, this is not just Like, yes, we have inhabited this world, and we have developed our own way of life, and we have tried to think that we know what's best in the world, but at the end of the day, the earth is going to do exactly what it fucking does. There are volcanoes that erupt every second. There are storms that occur that don't affect anybody. There are just all these crazy natural disasters that are keeping the world at balance. And honestly, the fucking rainforest catching on fire is just another one to check off the goddamn list to keep everything in our ecosystem at peace.
Trying to anyway.
Well, yeah, but you know,
We continue to
we're
throw it
not
off
we're
balance,
not
but
going to be here forever. Humans are not going. We are no different than any other species that has ever walked this fucking planet. Species have come and gone and have lived and extinct for millions and millions, and we are no different. To think that we could have any impact on trying to stop that or slow it down or reverse it, it's not going to happen. There's nothing that we can do as a species to try and make anything better. Sure, we can try and think that like our fucking hybrid cars and Priuses and Teslas are gonna fucking save the world, but they're not, because the vast, vast, vast majority of people are not fucking driving these cars that aren't emitting CO2 rapidly into the air. You know, we've completely fucked our CO2 balances within the ozone. Our entire fucking air supply is just polluted to the 10th degree. Like, we are here for the time that we get. Fucking enjoy it. Stop trying to worry about what's gonna happen in 1,000 years or 100 years or even 50 years. Do I think in our lifetime that we're going to see the repercussions of immense global warming or climate change? No, we probably won't. Now, does that mean that I'll stop recycling? No, I'll still recycle. Feel like I'm doing something good. Am I ever gonna see like the benefits of actually recycling? No, because it probably doesn't fucking matter, and it doesn't matter because I'm not gonna fucking be here. So, like, but it's all the same shit. It's just,
because we are an insignificant speck of dust on a speck of
God,
dust on a speck of
I
dust.
was,
And now we have gone full circle. It's the two
I was
hour
gonna say,
mark, and I think it's a
I was
good
like,
time to
going
wrap up
topic
there.
like my ass, dude. We topic fuck out of this episode.
This was a this was a good it was an interesting, it was a wild episode. But we've come full
That we went
circle. We're
all over the place.
back to feeling insignificant.
Oh well, I mean, it's hard to go back to feeling insignificant when you feel insignificant every day. So,
Oof, and on that bombshell, that has been Going Topicless, a whole 2 hours of the wide variety of topics. I'm amazed. We've gone, did gun control, did
it
bit of
seems to be a
global warming
common one,
there.
dude. Why do we keep going back to
Uh,
that? I mean,
I don't know.
damn. I
It's
mean,
a
it's just
relevant
always in the.
topic, I guess.
It's always there. I mean,
It's the
it
fucking
never
media,
fucking.
man. They're always trying to make us talk about it.
They're always listening.
God damn it, Google. Stop listening to me.
Dude, I swear to God, man, I swear to God, what was I fucking looking at the other? I was having a conversation with my fiance a couple weeks ago, and I pull up my Instagram, and literally I scrolled a few things down, and then I got hit with an ad, and it was seriously just of what we were talking about, and I'm just like, fuck this shit, like, nope, I'm out, like, it's there, dude, it happens so regularly. It creeps me the fuck out. Like, I didn't like Google search anything. I didn't, try and buy something. Like, we just talked about it, and then it popped up as an ad. I'm like, okay, South Park was right.
South Park is always right.
Oh, they're always right.
And The Simpsons.
Dude, the Simpsons. The thing that blows my mind about the Simpsons is that they make their episodes like years in advance. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm. Do
Because like
they?
I'm pretty sure. I feel like back in like 2017 or 2018, they like had made a report about like they had like revealed that like in like 2021 Lady Gaga was gonna be on an episode. I'm pretty sure they're like years in advance. They're fucking writing because
Crazy.
they don't keep up like unlike South Park. South Park actually like keeps up with modern events. The thing
Well,
that I love
South
about
Park
South Park
literally
is
makes an
they don't.
episode in a week. They
Yeah,
make an
I
entire
was just about to
episode in
say that.
6 days.
I was just about to say that. I was like, they don't start writing their like weekly episode until like the day after their episode airs, because that's how like current they want to stay like on their episodes. It's fucking crazy. I watched this. They did the creators of South Park. They did like a little documentary episode once about like their production and stuff. And one of the guys, I can't remember which creator it was, but he was like, there was one, there's been a couple times where they seriously had like finished recording like some of the voiceover and like sent it to Comedy Central like an hour before like the fucking episode was supposed to air.
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Could you imagine how nerve wracking that
Like, talk about a deadline. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I could
Oh
not deal
god.
with the stress behind that. Like,
No.
just being in like a high school production and be like, all right, guys, we got to put on this show in 4 months. That's
Mhm.
stressful. It's fucking
Mhm.
6 days. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't
They got to
remember
do
my
all the
lines in
voice
six
acting,
days.
the drawing, the writing. Oh god, that's so crazy to me. But
Indeed. Are we gonna wrap this up? I can't remember
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I did the
That's
intro, the
that's
outro.
that's the problem with the podcast like Going Topicless is you just keep finding topics. It just keeps going on.
Fucking hate this podcast.
It's a song that never ends. It just goes on. Anyway, that was Going Topicless. I hope you enjoyed our endless ranting about God knows what. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you hate us more than when we started. I don't know,
Yeah, nobody
but
learned
you
anything.
should
We don't
tell your
fact check.
friends. So tell your friends about the podcast so I can have more views and be liked, or at least feel like I'm liked.
Yeah, let Kevin be famous like he dies, so that his ashes mean
Yeah.
something.
I want to have meaning to my life. God damn it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, I still hope you enjoyed.
And well, if you didn't, just
Uh,
hit that dislike button. So
yeah.
engagements.
Hey, negative press is still press, right?
No such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah. All right.
Follow the various socials in the description.
Yep. I think I actually have a recorded piece at the end. A pre-recorded piece at the end is like, all right, that's the end of the episode. Go check out the shit at the linked in the thing.
Yeah,
There are
shows
so
you're
many links
amazing.
now
I'm so sad to go
between
back
my
and
socials and your socials. It's like an hour of links. We could do an entire
hour.
podcast just on the links, but anyway.
What? I have like 2 links, 3 links, 3.
It's once you have a guest on here, then it gets crazy. But
Well, fuck Jesse.
all right, that's it. If we keep talking, this is never gonna end. So have a good night, everybody. We shall talk to you next time. Bye
Hopefully in a
bye.
week, not 3.
That concludes this episode of Going Topicless. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to share with your friends. You can also follow the various socials linked in the description in order to stay up to date on future episodes.